Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is Mark Marex, Product Development Specialist with Nasdaq Index Research, to discuss the Nasdaq Clean Edge Green Energy Index. Mark, it's great to have you with us. Welcome back to Trade Talks. And this is an interesting index to watch with the election just a week away, as clean energy spend and infrastructure investment could be a big policy mover if we see a transition of power in the national election. So let's take a look at the composition of this index and regionally where these companies come from.
Thanks very much, Jill. Great to be back. So starting out, looking at just the top 15 constituents in the index as of this morning, you can see they make up almost 2/3 of the index weight. The rest of the index, a little under 1/3. Pretty highly concentrated index, actually, even though we've got the modified market cap weighting on it with 8% caps for the top 5 names, 4% for the rest. You can see NEO is the biggest constituent there, getting close to 10%. It's just been really outperforming all year long, and especially since that last semi-annual reconstitution of the index that took place in September. Moving on to the next slide, talking about what sectors make up the index, what countries and market cap buckets. This is a U.S. listed only index. You have to be listed in the U.S., but ADRs are eligible. So you can be a company like NEO, which is China-based but has an ADR listed in the U.S. So you get about 70% of the index ends up being actual U.S. companies. The remaining 30% is international, with Canada, China, and Israel kind of making out the biggest single country components. On a sector basis, it's a pretty interesting mix. He's got 30% there tagged as oil and gas for ICB. That's a bit of a misnomer. These are really companies in the renewable energy space. For different index classification system, you would consider these just straight up energy companies, but they focus in renewables. And you can see that there's a good mix of sectors there as well. In terms of market cap, about 1/3 of the index is that kind of $1 to $5 billion range. There's a lot of nice small and mid caps in this index as well. That 6% greater than 100 billion, that's a single company. That's Tesla.
And Mark, let's take a look at individual performance and how this particular index has compared to some other indexes.
Yeah, so individual constituents, the two big names that jump out at you, again, as mentioned, is NEO, which is kind of the Chinese version of Tesla, just crushing it this year, up 547% as of yesterday's close. Tesla's at just over 400%, even though it has cooled off a little bit recently, still just crushing it. And then you can see several other names are actually in the 100, 200 to 300% year-to-date range. Really kind of broad-based outperformance across companies, whether they are EV manufacturers, electric vehicles, or in the sort of solar, wind, renewable energy production space, or in things like lithium mining. You've got ALB, which is Albemarle, which is a legacy chemicals company that is active in that industry. Lot of good mix of names that are just having really strong performance this year, with renewables seeing a surge in usage globally. Then when we talk about overall index performance, we checked in on this index a couple of months ago. I think it was up something like 60% year to date. We crossed 100% year to date a couple of weeks ago. We're just under that now at about 93% year to date. Really extraordinary. You can see that all the outperformance really has come since the end of 2Q, since about June 30th. It was trading close with the Nasdaq 100 and the Nasdaq Composite, just been blowing all the competition away the last couple of months.
Yeah, that really is quite remarkable. So Mark, to wrap up here, how can an investor trade these themes in an ETF wrapper?
So it's a single big product right now from First Trust. They've got the First Trust Nasdaq Clean Edge Green Energy Index Fund. That's a mouthful. Ticker QCLEAN, QCLN. You can see that 3-year AUM trend here, right? Not much movement up through late last year. Then we had a bit of a peak before the COVID crash in March. And then when we dipped to about 135 million AUM in mid-March, exponential growth. Obviously, some of that is performance, but a lot of it is strong flows as well. We were almost up at 800 million recently, right around 750 million in AUM right now.
All right, Mark, thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.